The conference room door slammed open so hard that everyone inside jumped. A woman dropped her pen. A manager nearly spilled his coffee. And Emma Brooks froze. A tall man stepped into the room surrounded by executives, lawyers, and security personnel. His expensive suit looked like it belonged on the cover of a business magazine. His expression was calm, confident, and completely unreadable. But Emma knew that face. Even after 5 years. Even after all this time. Her heart stopped. Damian. The word escaped her lips before she could stop it. The man turned. His eyes landed on her. For a moment, neither of them moved. The room disappeared. The executives disappeared. 5 years of pain crashed into a single second. Emma felt her knees weaken. Damian Knight. The man she had once loved more than her own life. The man she had destroyed. The man she had never expected to see again. One of the executives smiled nervously. "Everyone, please welcome the new owner of Brooks Financial Group, Mr. Damian Knight." Applause erupted. Everyone clapped. Everyone except Emma. Damian slowly looked away from her and addressed the room. "Thank you." His voice was deeper than she remembered. Stronger. Colder. "We'll have plenty of time to get acquainted." Then his gaze returned to Emma. A small smile appeared on his lips. Not a warm smile. Not a friendly smile. The kind of smile someone wears before delivering a fatal blow. "Miss Brooks." Emma's stomach tightened.
YS.
"Welcome to your new nightmare." The room fell silent. Nobody understood the meaning behind those words. Nobody except Emma. And Damian. If you enjoy emotional billionaire stories with shocking twists and unforgettable endings, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. This story is only getting started. 5 years earlier, Damian Knight owned exactly 3 things. An old motorcycle, a tiny apartment, and a dream. At 28 years old, he worked 16-hour days trying to build a software company that nobody believed in. Everyone told him he would fail. Everyone except Emma. Emma Brooks worked at a bookstore during the day and took online accounting classes at night. She wasn't rich. She wasn't powerful. But whenever Damian wanted to quit, she reminded him why he started. One rainy evening, they sat together on a park bench sharing a sandwich because neither of them could afford dinner at a restaurant. Damian laughed. "One day, I'm buying you the biggest house in the city." Emma rolled her eyes. "I don't want the biggest house." "Then what do you want?" She leaned her head against his shoulder. "You." Damian smiled. "That's it. That's it. Not diamonds."
No.
"Sports cars."
No.
"A private island?" Emma laughed. "You're ridiculous. You'll regret saying no when I'm rich." She looked into his eyes. "I won't." Damian believed her. Every word. Every promise. Every dream. For 3 years, they built a life together. A simple life. A happy life. They planned their future. Their wedding. Their children. Everything. Then one day, everything changed. Emma suddenly became distant. She stopped answering calls. Stopped replying to messages. Stopped smiling. Damian noticed immediately. One evening, he arrived outside her apartment carrying a small velvet box hidden inside his jacket. Inside was an engagement ring. Not an expensive one. It had taken him almost a year to save for it. But he loved it. Because it represented hope. He knocked. Emma opened the door. The moment she saw him, tears filled her eyes. Damian immediately noticed. "Emma. Why are you here?" "I wanted to see you."
I'm busse.
His heart sank. Something was wrong. "Can we talk?" Emma looked away.
No.
"Emma, what's happening?" Silence. "Did I do something?"
No.
"Then tell me what's wrong." Tears threatened to escape her eyes. She forced them back. Then she said the words that would haunt Damian for years. "I'm tired of pretending." Damian frowned. "Pretending what?" "That I believe in your dreams." The words hit him like a punch. "What?" You heard me. Emma. I don't want this life. Whose life? Ours. Damian stared at her. Confused. Terrified. Emma, what are you talking about? I can't spend my future struggling. She crossed her arms. I deserve better. The sentence shattered something inside him. You don't mean that.
I do. No.
Why not? Because I know you. Emma looked away. You don't. Damian's voice shook. 3 years, Emma. People change.
No.
Yes. Look at me. She refused. Look at me and tell me you don't love me. For a second, her mask cracked. Pain flashed across her face. Then she hardened again. I don't love you. Damian felt the world tilt beneath him. The ring box slipped from his fingers. It hit the floor. Emma's eyes widened when she saw it. An engagement ring. The realization nearly broke her. But she couldn't tell him the truth. She couldn't. Not after the threat. Not after what Damian's father had promised. Not after learning she was carrying Damian's child. She forced herself to continue. You'll never be good enough for me. Damian stared at her. Completely broken. Emma. Goodbye, Damian. The door closed. And his heart shattered. On the other side of that door, Emma collapsed to the floor sobbing. She cried harder than she ever had in her entire life. But she didn't open the door. Because she believed losing him was the only way to save him. 3 days earlier, she had received a visit from the last person she expected. Charles Knight. Damian's father. One of the most powerful businessmen in the country. He had arrived in a luxury car. Sat across from her. And changed her life forever. You love my son. Emma nodded. Yes. Then leave him. Her blood froze. What? Leave him.
No.
Charles leaned forward. You don't understand. I love Damian. And that's exactly why you must leave. Emma stood. I won't. Charles calmly slid a folder across the table. Inside were documents. Financial reports. Investor agreements. Business projections. Damian's company. What is this? My son is about to receive opportunities worth millions. Emma frowned. So, you are the obstacle. The words felt cruel. What? Charles sighed. He spends too much time worrying about you. Emma's hands trembled. You can't be serious. Very. He loves me. And because he loves you, he'll settle for a small life. Emma felt anger rising. You don't know him. I know exactly who he can become. Charles stared directly into her eyes. Leave him.
No.
The older man's face hardened. Then I will destroy his future. Emma froze. What? I'll make sure every investor walks away. You wouldn't. Try me. Her heart pounded. You can't control his life. I can. He stood. And I will. Emma felt sick. You're asking me to break his heart.
No.
Charles replied coldly. I'm asking you to save his future. For days, Emma fought the decision. For days, she cried herself to sleep. Then she discovered something that changed everything. She was pregnant. The moment she saw the positive test, she broke down. She wanted to call Damian. She wanted to tell him. She wanted him to hold her. But then she remembered Charles's threat. If she stayed, Damian's future could disappear. If she left, maybe he could become everything he dreamed of becoming. So she sacrificed herself. And lost the man she loved. Damian never knew. Because before Emma could tell him, Charles moved quickly. Rumors spread. False stories. People claimed Emma had found a richer man. People claimed she had been cheating. People claimed she had never loved him. And Damian believed it. At least eventually. Because believing she betrayed him hurt less than believing she had simply disappeared. The heartbreak nearly destroyed him. For months, he buried himself in work. For months, he barely slept. For months, He lived on coffee and anger. Then something happened. His software company landed its first major contract. Then another. Then another. Within 2 years, investors were fighting to work with him. Within 3 years, his company exploded nationally. Within 5 years, Damian Knight became one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the country. Every magazine wanted interviews. Every investor wanted meetings. Every company wanted partnerships. And through it all, he carried one memory. Emma. The woman who told him he wasn't good enough. The woman who abandoned him. The woman he swore he would never forgive. Now fate had placed her directly in his path again. And this time, Damian wasn't the broken young man standing outside her apartment with an engagement ring. This time, he held all the power. And he intended to use it. The very next morning, Emma received an email from the CEO's office. Mandatory meeting. 9 Uhr morgens. Damian Knight. Her hands started shaking. Because deep down, she knew exactly what was coming. And she had a feeling this was only the beginning. Emma barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Damian standing in that conference room. Older. Stronger. Colder. 5 years had changed everything. Yet the pain in his eyes when he looked at her felt exactly the same. She sat on the edge of her bed while dawn crept through the curtains. Across the room, a small voice broke the silence. "Mommy." Emma immediately smiled. A little girl with dark hair sat up in bed rubbing her eyes. "Good morning, sweetheart." The child stretched. "Are you going to work?" "Yes." "Will you be home early?" Emma walked over and kissed her forehead. "I'll try." The little girl smiled. "Promise?" Emma's heart squeezed. "I promise." The child hugged her tightly. Emma held her for a moment longer than usual. Because something felt different. Something felt dangerous. As she left the apartment, she whispered a silent prayer. "Please don't let him find out. Please. Not yet." At exactly 9 o'clock, Emma entered Damian's office. The room was enormous. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Awards lined the walls. Success surrounded him from every angle. Damian sat behind a massive desk reviewing documents. Without looking up, he spoke. "You're late." Emma glanced at the clock. 9 o'clock exactly. "You asked me to come at 9. I expected you at 8:55. She said nothing. Damian finally looked up. His expression remained calm. But his eyes were ice-cold. "Sit." Emma obeyed. For several seconds, silence filled the room. Then Damian leaned back. "How have you been, Emma?" The sound of her name on his lips made her chest tighten. "Fine." "Really?" "Yes." "That's interesting." He opened a file. "Because according to these records, you're working 2 jobs. Emma's stomach dropped. "You investigated me?" "I own the company." "You didn't answer my question." Damian smiled. "You never answered mine." Emma looked away. That familiar sadness flashed across his face before disappearing. Still avoiding the truth. "What truth?" "The truth about why you left." Emma remained silent. Damian nodded. "Of course." He tossed a thick folder onto the desk. "Your new assignment." She opened it. Then her eyes widened. The project contained nearly 6 months of work. "Damian, this is impossible." "Mr. Knight." She looked up. "What?" "In this office, it's Mr. Knight." Emma swallowed. "Mr. Knight, no one can complete this in a week." "I guess we'll find out." "Why are you doing this?" For the first time, anger flickered in his eyes. "You really want to ask that question?" Emma lowered her gaze. "No." "Good." The meeting was over. Or so she thought. As she stood, Damian spoke again. "Tell me something." Emma stopped. "What?" Was he worth it? Her heart pounded. "Who?" "The rich man." She froze. "The one you left me for." Pain flooded her expression. Damian noticed. But he misunderstood it. He thought it was guilt. Not heartbreak. Yes, he continued. The man everyone said you married. Emma couldn't breathe. I never. She stopped herself. Damian immediately noticed. You never what? Nothing. A bitter laugh escaped him. Still lying. Emma turned and left before he could see the tears forming in her eyes. The following weeks became a nightmare. Damian kept his promise. Every day brought a new humiliation. Every day brought a new challenge. Every day brought another reminder that he hadn't forgiven her. During one meeting, Emma presented a financial proposal she had worked on for days. When she finished, the room became quiet. Several executives looked impressed. Damian glanced at the document, then casually dropped it onto the table. Disappointing. Emma blinked. What? Did I stutter? The room became uncomfortable. Mr. Knight, one manager said carefully, the proposal actually looks strong. Damian didn't even look at him. I wasn't asking for opinions. Emma felt dozens of eyes staring at her. Humiliation burned through her chest. But she remained calm. Would you like me to revise it? Damian frowned slightly. That wasn't the reaction he expected. Yes. Okay.
No argument. No plant.
Nothing. She simply accepted it. The same thing happened again. And again. And again. He gave her impossible deadlines. She completed them. He criticized her work. She thanked him for the feedback. He denied her promotions. She congratulated the people who received them. The more Damian pushed, the more confused he became. One afternoon, his assistant entered his office. Sir. What? I have the employee reports you requested. Damian took them. He had been reviewing performance records. Everyone in the company complained eventually. Everyone. Except Emma. Not a single complaint. Not a single grievance. Not a single negative comment. Nothing. It made no sense. 5 years ago, she had seemed capable of walking away without looking back. Now she accepted punishment without defending herself. Why? Damian hated how much the question bothered him. That evening, another mystery appeared. He was leaving the office when he noticed Emma rushing toward the exit. She looked worried. Panicked. Like she was late for something important. Without understanding why, Damian followed her. His driver remained silent as they tailed her car through the city. 10 minutes later, Damian frowned. This wasn't the route to an expensive neighborhood. 15 minutes later, he frowned even more. This definitely wasn't the route of someone living a luxurious life. 20 minutes later, Emma parked outside a modest apartment building. Damian stared. Confused. She got out and hurried inside. 5 minutes passed. Then a window lit up on the second floor. Damian looked up. And froze. A little girl came running across the room. Emma immediately dropped to her knees and opened her arms. The child launched herself forward. Emma hugged her tightly. Both of them laughed. For a moment, Damian simply watched. Something about the scene felt wrong. Not wrong in a bad way. Wrong because it didn't fit the image he had built in his mind. The image of a selfish woman chasing wealth. Then the little girl turned. And Damian's entire world stopped. His breath caught. His heart skipped. His blood ran cold. The child's eyes. They were identical to his. Not similar. Identical. The same color. The same shape. The same intensity. Damian leaned forward.
No.
His voice barely existed. The little girl couldn't be older than 6. His hands started shaking.
No.
The child laughed at something Emma said. Then she wrapped her arms around Emma's neck. Damian felt dizzy. His mind raced. Impossible. It had to be impossible. Yet he couldn't look away. The resemblance was undeniable. A terrifying thought began forming in his mind. One he immediately rejected. Then accepted. Then rejected again. The driver glanced at him through the mirror. Sir. Damian didn't answer. His eyes remained locked on the window. The little girl smiled. And for the first time in 5 years, Damian felt genuine fear. Not business fear. Not financial fear. Personal fear. Because if that child was who he thought she might be, everything he believed about Emma could be a lie. The next morning, Damian arrived at the office earlier than usual. He couldn't stop thinking about the little girl. He couldn't stop seeing those eyes. He needed answers. Immediately. When Emma arrived, his assistant informed her that the CEO wanted to see her. Again. She entered the office cautiously. Damian stood by the window, his back facing her. Close the door. Emma obeyed. Silence filled the room. Then Damian turned around. His face looked different. Less angry. More dangerous. Do you have children? Emma's entire body froze. For a second, she forgot how to breathe. What? You heard me. Her pulse thundered in her ears. Why are you asking? Damian stepped forward. Answer the question. Emma's mind raced. How much did he know? What had he seen? Had he followed her? Do you have children, Emma? Tears threatened to form instantly. She fought them back. Yes. Damian's heart slammed against his ribs. How old? She couldn't speak. Emma. 6. The number hit him like a freight train. 6. Exactly 6. Damian stared at her. Neither moved. Neither breathed. And then he asked the question that changed everything. Who's the father? Emma closed her eyes. Because she knew this moment had finally arrived. And nothing would ever be the same again. Who's the father? The question hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. Emma's hands trembled. For 6 years she had imagined this moment. 1,000 different versions. 1,000 different outcomes. None of them felt easier than this. She slowly opened her eyes. Damian stood only a few feet away. Waiting. Demanding. Searching. Answer me. Emma swallowed. I can't. The response immediately ignited his temper. Can't. No. Or won't. Emma looked away. Damian laughed bitterly. Of course. His voice grew colder. You always run when the truth gets close. That isn't fair. Fair. He stared at her in disbelief. You want to talk about fair? Years of pain poured into his voice. Was it fair when you disappeared? Damian. Was it fair when you destroyed everything we built? Emma flinched. Stop. Was it fair when I spent years wondering what I did wrong? The pain in his eyes nearly broke her. Because she had asked herself those same questions every day. But she still couldn't tell him. Not yet. Not until she knew the entire truth was safe. Please. Her voice cracked. Don't do this here. Damian studied her face. For the first time, he saw genuine fear. Not guilt. Fear. And somehow that disturbed him more. Before either could say another word, his office phone rang. The interruption shattered the moment. Damian clenched his jaw. Leave. Emma didn't hesitate. She turned and walked out. The second the door closed, Damian slammed his fist onto the desk. The little girl. The timing. Emma's reaction. Nothing made sense. And he hated not understanding. For the next several days, he couldn't focus. Every meeting felt meaningless. Every report felt unimportant. Because one question consumed him. Could that child be his daughter? The thought should have been impossible. Yet it refused to leave. Meanwhile, Emma felt her carefully constructed life beginning to collapse. Every day she worried Damian would discover the truth. Every day she worried someone would tell him. Every day she feared the secret she had protected for 6 years would finally come out. Then the call arrived. And everything changed. Emma was reviewing reports when her phone rang. She immediately recognized the school number. Her stomach dropped. Hello. Mrs. Brooks. Yes. This is Maple Grove Elementary. Fear flooded her chest. What's wrong? Your daughter collapsed during recess. Emma shot to her feet. What? She regained consciousness, but the school nurse recommends immediate medical evaluation. Emma's face turned white. I'll be there right now, The phone slipped from her hand. She grabbed her bag and rushed toward the elevators. She never noticed Damian watching from the hallway. He saw the panic, the tears, the desperation. Without thinking, he followed her. Emma raced to her car. Damian entered his own vehicle moments later. Follow her. The driver nodded. Traffic felt endless. Every second seemed like an hour. When Emma finally reached the hospital, she practically ran inside. Damian arrived minutes later. He shouldn't have entered. He knew that. This wasn't his business. Yet something pulled him forward. Inside the pediatric wing, he spotted Emma sitting outside an examination room. She looked terrified. A doctor approached her. Emma immediately stood. "How is she?" The doctor sighed. "We need additional tests." Emma's face fell. "Why?" "The episodes are becoming more frequent." Damian froze. "Episodes? What does that mean?" The doctor lowered his voice. "We discussed this before." Emma looked close to tears. "I know. We're concerned about the progression." Damian couldn't hear every word. But what he heard was enough. Emma wasn't dealing with a minor illness. Something serious was happening. The doctor eventually walked away. Emma sat down and buried her face in her hands. Her shoulders shook. She was crying. Damian had imagined Emma suffering countless times over the years. He had dreamed about it, planned it, wanted it. Yet watching her now felt completely different. For some reason, it hurt. A few minutes later, a small voice echoed from the room. "Mommy." Emma instantly wiped her tears away. "I'm here." She entered. The door remained slightly open. Damian found himself unable to leave. Inside, the little girl smiled weakly. "Did I scare you?" Emma sat beside her. "A little. Sorry." "Don't apologize." The child reached for her mother's hand. "Am I going to be okay?" Emma's smile wavered. "Yes." The little girl studied her carefully. "You're lying." Emma laughed through tears. "Since when are you so smart?" "Since forever." The child giggled. For a moment, the room filled with warmth. Then she asked a question that shattered Damian's heart. "Do you think Daddy would have stayed if he knew about me?" Emma froze. So did Damian. The little girl looked down. "Sometimes I wonder." Emma gently lifted her chin. "Sweetheart." "It's okay." "No, it isn't." The child tried to smile. "Maybe he didn't want us." Emma immediately shook her head. "No." "Then why isn't he here?" Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Because he never knew." The little girl frowned. "What do you mean?" Emma hesitated, then spoke softly. "Your father loved us." Damian felt his entire body go numb. "He did." "Yes." "Then why didn't he come?" Emma closed her eyes briefly. "Because someone made sure he never got the chance." The words hit Damian like lightning. Someone made sure he never got the chance. Suddenly, memories resurfaced. Conversations. Rumors. Strange events after the breakup. Things he had ignored. Things he had accepted because they matched his pain. The little girl squeezed Emma's hand. "Will I ever meet him?" Emma forced a smile. "Maybe." "When?" "I don't know." The child looked thoughtful. "I hope soon." Damian stepped back from the doorway. His pulse pounded. His mind raced. Nothing made sense anymore. And for the first time, he began questioning everything he thought he knew. That evening, he returned to his penthouse but couldn't sleep. He opened old photo albums. Old emails. Old messages. Memories he hadn't touched in years. One picture stopped him cold. Emma smiling beside him in a cheap diner. Another. Emma helping him build furniture in his tiny apartment. Another. Emma wearing one of his oversized hoodies and laughing at something he said. None of those memories matched the woman he had convinced himself she was. A gold digger. A liar. A betrayer. The image was starting to crack. Then another memory surfaced. A conversation with his father shortly after the breakup. At the time, Damian had been too devastated to question it. Now it felt different. His father had seemed oddly prepared. Almost relieved. Almost satisfied. Damian sat upright. His chest tightened. No. It couldn't be. Could it? The next morning, he made a decision. He needed answers. Real answers. Not assumptions. Not rumors. Truth. By noon, a private investigator sat across from him. Damian slid a photograph across the desk. A picture of Emma. I want everything. The investigator nodded. How far back? 6 years. That's extensive. I don't care. The investigator studied him. You suspect something? Damian looked out the window. Yes. What? His jaw tightened. I think my entire life may have been built on a lie. For the next week, Damian waited. The waiting nearly drove him insane. Then the call finally came. We have the report. Damian immediately arranged a meeting. The investigator placed a thick file on the table. What you're about to read is unusual. Damian opened it. His hands began shaking almost instantly. Bank records. Medical records. Employment history. Housing records. Everything pointed to one devastating conclusion. Emma had never married. Not once. Damian stared at the page. His throat tightened.
No.
The investigator nodded. There was no husband. But everyone said they were wrong. Damian continued reading. The next discovery hit even harder. Every major expense in Emma's life centered around one thing. Her daughter. Medical bills. School fees. Specialist appointments. Treatments. Sacrifices. For 6 years, Emma had worked multiple jobs. Not for luxury. Not for wealth. For her child. For their child. Damian's vision blurred. He turned another page. And found the final blow. A copy of a hospital document. Date, 6 years earlier. Patient, Emma Brooks. Reason for visit, pregnancy confirmation. Damian stopped breathing. The room spun. The words became difficult to read. Pregnancy confirmation. 6 years ago. Only weeks after their breakup. The investigator quietly spoke. There's more. But Damian barely heard him. His entire world had just collapsed. Because the impossible truth was staring directly at him. Emma had been carrying his baby when she left. And she had never told him. Which meant there was only one question left. Why? And somewhere deep inside, Damian was beginning to fear he already knew the answer. Because every road, every clue, every secret, seemed to be leading back to one person. His father. Damian drove for nearly an hour before realizing he had no idea where he was going. His hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. The investigator's report sat on the passenger seat. Every page felt like a knife twisting deeper into his chest. Emma had never married. Emma had never abandoned him for a richer man. Emma had raised their daughter alone. And somehow, for 6 years, he had been completely blind. A memory suddenly surfaced. His father standing in his office years ago. Forget her, Damian. Another memory. She wasn't the person you thought she was. Another. You'll thank me someday. Damian slammed the brakes at a red light. His breathing became uneven. For the first time, he wasn't remembering those conversations as advice. He was remembering them as warnings. His father knew. His father had always known. And if that was true, everything changed. Within an hour, Damian stood inside the private medical facility where his father had been receiving treatment. The once powerful businessman looked older now. Weaker. Time had stolen much of the authority he once carried. But when he saw Damian enter unexpectedly, concern flashed across his face. Damian. We need to talk. Charles immediately recognized the tone. This sounds serious. It is. Damian tossed the investigator's report onto the table. Charles glanced at it. His expression changed instantly. The silence said more than words ever could. Damian felt his stomach twist. You knew. Charles closed his eyes. Damian. You knew. His voice thundered through the room. The older man looked away. And that was all the confirmation Damian needed. Rage exploded inside him. 6 years. Charles remained silent. 6 years. Damian's voice cracked. Do you have any idea what you've done? His father sighed heavily. I was trying to protect your future. Damian laughed bitterly.
No. Yes. No.
The room shook with his anger. You destroyed my future. Charles slowly stood. I made you successful. You stole my family. The words hit harder than anything else. For the first time, genuine regret appeared in Charles's eyes. I thought I was helping. You threatened her. Charles lowered his head. I did. You forced her to leave.
Yes.
You knew she was pregnant. The older man hesitated, then nodded. Damian staggered backward. The admission felt unbearable. You knew. I found out shortly after. And you said nothing. Charles swallowed. If I told you, you would have gone after her. Of course I would have. You would have given up everything. Damian stared at him.
No. Yes. No.
His eyes filled with tears. I would have had everything. The room fell silent. For a long moment, neither man spoke. Finally, Charles sat down. He looked exhausted. Defeated. I thought success would make you happy. Damian's voice became quiet. You spent your entire life building companies. Charles looked up. So. And somehow you never learned the difference between success and happiness. The older man's eyes filled with regret. Damian shook his head. I lost 6 years with my daughter. The words shattered something inside him. My daughter. Charles closed his eyes. I know.
No.
Damian's voice broke. You don't. Without another word, he turned and walked away. Behind him, Charles remained sitting alone. A man who had won every business battle. And lost the only one that mattered. The next morning, employees at Brooks Financial Group received an unexpected company-wide email. Mandatory gathering. Main auditorium.
No exceptions.
By 10 o'clock, hundreds of employees filled the room. Whispers spread everywhere. Nobody knew what was happening. Emma sat quietly near the back. Her anxiety had been growing for days. Something felt different. Something was coming. Then Damian walked onto the stage. The room immediately became silent. He stood before everyone, holding a microphone. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then he looked directly at Emma. There's someone here I owe an apology. The entire audience looked confused. Emma's heart started racing. Damian stepped forward. His voice remained steady, but his eyes betrayed powerful emotions. 5 years ago, I believed a lie. The room became even quieter. The room became even quieter. I believed someone I loved had betrayed me. Emma felt tears forming. Because of that lie, I carried anger for years. Damian swallowed hard. And when I finally saw her again, I decided to make her suffer. Employees exchanged nervous glances. Nobody understood what was happening. Damian continued. I used my position to punish someone who didn't deserve it. Emma could barely breathe. Then something happened that nobody expected. The billionaire CEO walked off the stage, straight toward Emma. The room watched in stunned silence. Damian stopped in front of her. For a moment, neither spoke. Then he slowly lowered himself onto one knee. Gasps erupted throughout the auditorium. Emma covered her mouth. Tears instantly spilled down her cheeks. Damian looked up at her. His own eyes filled with tears. You spent 6 years protecting our daughter. The room collectively froze. While I spent 6 years trying to punish you. Emma sobbed openly. Damian's voice cracked. I was fighting the wrong person. Not a single sound came from the audience. Many employees were already crying. Damian took a shaky breath. I blamed you for everything. His eyes never left Emma's. When the truth is, you sacrificed everything for me. Emma shook her head through tears. Damian.
No.
He gently interrupted. You carried our child alone. More tears streamed down her face. You worked yourself to exhaustion. Damian's voice became softer. You protected my future while I hated you for it. The pain in his words broke everyone watching. Finally, he said the words he should have said years ago.
I'm sorry.
Emma closed her eyes. 6 years of heartbreak. 6 years of loneliness. 6 years of carrying a burden she never wanted. And now, finally, the truth existed in the open. When she opened her eyes again, she saw the same man she had fallen in love with years ago. Not the billionaire. Not the CEO. Damian. The man she never stopped loving. She reached for his hand. You don't have to kneel. His voice trembled.
Ido.
Emma laughed through tears. Then she pulled him to his feet. And before anyone could react, she wrapped her arms around him. The audience erupted into applause. People stood. Some cheered. Many cried. Damian held her tightly. For the first time in 6 years, neither had to pretend. Neither had to hide. Neither had to suffer alone. A week later, another moment changed everything. Damian nervously stood outside Emma's apartment. The same place he had secretly watched from his car. The same place where he first saw the little girl. His daughter. The door opened. And there she was. The little girl looked up curiously. Damian suddenly forgot every prepared speech. Every planned sentence. Everything. The child tilted her head. Mom said you're someone important. Damian laughed softly. Did she? Yep. The little girl studied him carefully. Then her eyes widened. You have my eyes. Damian froze. Emma stood behind her silently. Tears filled her eyes again. The little girl pointed excitedly. You do. Damian smiled. I noticed that too. She frowned. Then another realization hit. Her mouth slowly opened. Wait. Damian's heart pounded. The little girl looked between him and Emma. Then asked the question he would remember forever. Are you my daddy? The room became completely silent. Damian knelt until he was eye level with her. His voice trembled. Yes. For a moment, she simply stared. Then she launched herself into his arms. The force nearly knocked him backward. Damian held her tightly. And cried. Actually cried. Years of regret poured out of him. Years he could never recover. Years he could never replace. But he had this moment. And he would never take it for granted. The little girl squeezed him. You took forever. Damian laughed through tears. I know. Don't leave again. His heart broke. Never. Promise. Promise. A year later, the garden ceremony was small. Exactly how Emma wanted it. No extravagant media coverage. No endless displays of wealth. Just family. Friends. Love. And a little girl smiling brighter than anyone else. When the officiant announced them husband and wife, applause filled the garden. Damian kissed Emma. The woman he almost lost forever. The woman who had sacrificed everything. The woman who taught him that love was stronger than pride. After the ceremony, guests expected a lavish celebration. Instead, Damian and Emma made a surprising announcement. Together, they launched a foundation dedicated to helping single parents and children facing hardship. Inspired by Emma's journey. Inspired by the years she spent fighting alone. Inspired by families who needed hope. The foundation quickly changed thousands of lives. But Damian's favorite moments weren't found in boardrooms or charity events. They happened at home. One quiet evening, he tucked his daughter into bed. She yawned and pulled the blanket closer. Daddy. Yes. Are you leaving again? Damian smiled softly. Then kissed her forehead. Never again. The little girl grinned. Good. A moment later, Emma entered the room. She sat beside them. Their daughter grabbed both of their hands. And refused to let go. The three of them laughed. A simple moment. A perfect moment. The kind of moment Damian once thought he had lost forever. As he looked at Emma, he realized something important. Revenge had nearly destroyed the second chance life was trying to give him. Love had saved it. And sometimes the greatest victory isn't becoming a billionaire. It's finding your way back to the people who never stopped loving you. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who believes in second chances. And tell us in the comments, if you were Damian, could you forgive after losing 6 years with your child? Because sometimes the truth hides behind the deepest pain. And sometimes love waits longer than anyone thinks.